Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing fantastic and that you're all having an absolutely incredible day. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. This is something that we've been talking about for a number of years on this channel. It didn't really become a major point of discussion until roughly around 2018. Between this channel and my other channel, Money Rules, I talk about this topic a lot because I think it's important, but also I think people need to be paying attention to it. A lot of times, if not nearly all times within the cryptocurrency space, one of the few metrics that people actually look at is Bitcoin's price. And I understand, of course, it's very attractive. You want to see the numbers go up. You want to see the other coins moving up as well. But I make sure to make it a thing to let you understand that there's not really a lot left. Because, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, I notice that life is very stressful, not just for me, but for many other people as well. So a lot of times it is quite difficult to actually peer deep into the future and understand the current trends that are going on around us. This can happen with anything. This can happen with investments. This can happen with real estate. Looking at where real estate prices are now, where they were 10 years ago, where they're expected to be in the next 10, 15 to 20 years. And by 2050, when all the corporations are owning 90% of all the land and all the real estate that's out there. A lot of times people are also incredibly short-sighted when it comes to other investments, and for the sake of clarity, or rather the ease of the conversation, I'll skip right into Bitcoin. As far as how much there actually is out there, and there's a reason why a lot of times I say the same numbers over again, is because it's the way that I learned when I was younger to try and make something stick in your head. You can hear something once or twice, it ends up disappearing, you hear about it years later and you go, why does that sound so familiar? But if you hear it hundreds of times over and over and over, it begins to finally make sense in your head. When you talk about that there's only 21 million Bitcoin on the planet that will ever be for 8 billion people, it's something incredibly significant that I wish more people paid attention to. Because what's going to end up happening is, now this is just relative reality. This isn't trying to get you to FOMO. This isn't trying for you to be like, oh my gosh, like X, Y, and Z. It's more of a, this is what's going to happen. So as more Bitcoin continues to rush into the hands of the extremely wealthy, and we continue getting these price predictions of where Bitcoin's price is going to go, we are inevitably going to have a lot of retail investors, normal people, who get into the space, who buy up some coins, who see that the coins' prices have gone up, and then they end up liquidating all of their cryptocurrencies. Once again, I can't tell you what to do with all of your money or whatever the actual case might be, but understand the trends that are going on and what they're leading up to and how long this cryptocurrency revolution thing is actually going to last. We always talk about the lack of the Bitcoin supply actually on the market. And I know I've seen people in the comment section talking about they're tired of hearing about it, or like we heard this one before, but that's the problem. Like, you don't get it. Years and years ago, I remember having conversations with friends and family about real estate and like how cheap I thought prices were relative to how many people need a place to live. I remember having that conversation before with people about art. And I was like, hey, you should look into getting into art. And I was like, it's not really expensive. You maybe only need like a couple of $100s per month to be able to get some nice pieces. A lot of these pieces that I also own have also skyrocketed in value over the course of the last decade. We have a lot of companies in the cryptocurrency space who look through metrics for what's happening on the blockchains, and Glassnode is actually one of them. For those of you who are not looking at the screen, Glassnode has realized that the actual available supply of Bitcoin that's available to you is at unprecedented lows. It's lower than it's ever actually been before. We keep getting news like this, and I know that there are a lot of you out there who are actually paying attention. I know there are a lot of you who have actually taken, my words for actual, I was going to say concrete. That doesn't make any sense, but you understand what I actually mean, because this world that we live in is not only rapidly evolving, but the news that we continue to get that crypto is basically going to be here forever is going to be a very major topic of discussion. I'm actively predicting, there seems to be no way around this. I give it around a good 10 to 15 years. I think there's going to be relative chaos. This is my opinion. Relative chaos in the world relative to how many people do and do not own cryptocurrencies. This is similar to whatever, that's another topic entirely, but I'm actively foreseeing a world where we currently live right now, where the friction between people who realize that they could have gotten into this space years ago relative to the small amount of people who actually did and paid attention and accumulated, there's going to be some strife, if you will. So basically, Glassnode has reported that there are a couple of metrics that they believe are actually very important when it comes to the amount of Bitcoin that's out there. They basically have to do with long-term and short-term holders. I think they refer to short-term holders as anyone who holds their cryptocurrencies for less than half a year. These could be people who are day trading. These could be people who simply buy, get annoyed with the market, see that prices are going down. They don't see the longer picture because they're just trying to get into it for a quick buck. They sell their coins, and these are actually subsequently also the people who help us move the cryptocurrency market back up as prices are pumping, because they realize that they should not have sold. And therefore, they end up buying back in this like long quest of FOMO, trying to reacquire what they had before. But the problem is that they never are usually able to acquire or have as much crypto as they previously had that they actually sold off. One of the other really big indicators from Glassnode, it says it's somewhere around here. I don't know. There's a very long article. It says it's somewhere around here. Basically, they realize that the amount of accumulation of Bitcoin is actually far outstripping, surpassing the amount that's actually being created. So the actual new issuance of Bitcoin is lower than the actual demand for it right now. And one of the really important metrics that I think that people should always have in the back of their mind is the fact that we do not yet currently have 1 billion people within the market. It is estimated that there are slightly less than 100 million people who are currently into Bitcoin. So this is with the current demand that we have right now from you, your friends, and other people who might be buying Satoshis and things like that. The idea is that if we are currently already outpacing the actual issuance rate of Bitcoin, when the halving happens in April, that's literally mathematically going to double as the issuance rate is getting cut down in half. And that's just with the current people who are in the market. This is not accounting for the other millions of people who are going to rush to the market, seeing everyone else making money and therefore also trying to make money themselves. This doesn't account for, over the course of the next couple of years, we are expected to have 500 million people in the cryptocurrency market who are actively there. This doesn't account for the next 4 years, where the next Bitcoin halving also ends up taking place. So, yeah, articles like this are very, very, very important. It's always something to keep in mind. It's more of a long-term thing. I advise my friends and family the same exact way for those who actually did or would listen to me. I always say, at the end of the month, after all your bills are paid and you have an extra $50 that would have otherwise gone to you eating fast food or buying something that you already have. You don't need another new pair of shoes because you already have 16 other pairs of shoes. I tell them, just put that money away into crypto. This is what I tell my friends and family. It's more of a, if you were going to spend it on something nonsensical after all your bills have been paid, why not invest that money? Because I think the future is going to get quite ridiculous very, very fast. That's the Glassnode has said that the supply of Bitcoin that's actively out there for people is very, very low. And yeah, let's move on. In actual in incredible news. I'm not sure how people managed to pull this one off. Remember that website that we were talking about before? This was like 3 weeks ago, that people found that had the information for the Blackrock iShares ETF, and then the cryptocurrency market. Bitcoin subsequently went from 27,000 to 37,000 over the course of like a 10, 11, 12 day period. On that same exact website, someone found a filing for an XRP ETF with the filing name iShares XRP Trust. So the problem is that one, this was apparently fake. People contacted Blackrock and they were like, "Hey, is this real?" And Blackrock was like, "No, that's not us at all." The second part is that this was an actual filing. So a lot of people, of course, as you might have imagined, the price of XRP shot up, believing that Blackrock was actually filing for an XRP ETF because it appeared on the exact same website as the other thing. The other second part, once again, was this was an actual filing. People looked into it and they found out that someone clearly actually filed for this iShares XRP Trust under the name of Blackrock, who was not Blackrock. That's what makes it even crazier, is that this was an actual thing that appeared online on that website, and people were like, how did this actually work? Who did this? How was someone able to fake the name Blackrock and then list a spot XRP ETF on this website? So yeah, not too much to really dig into here. It's more of I feel like a lot of times with news like this, of course, this is meant to manipulate the market. This is obvious manipulation for the cryptocurrency prices, but I feel like so much of this has to do with like pent up energy around this topic. I think a lot of people within the space are kind of beginning to like lose it a little bit, simply because now this is something that I've noticed after having been on this earth for a while, is that when a situation kind of becomes a bit too ridiculous, I think people react in certain very weird ways. I think when people realize that something should have happened, and I don't want to use the term unjust for something regarding like money or like within the cryptocurrency space, there's actual real justice that needs to be like doled out in the world. But it's more of if you continue to annoy people, such as the SEC has done, I think this is kind of the result of it. It comes from this like anger that's kind of floating around in the back, and people want something to kind of finally take place with something that they've been in. Having been in the cryptocurrency space for a while, it is abundantly clear, at least to me, that there's a very rapid amount of, and very strong amount of manipulation within our market to either keep prices down, to get people to flow into a certain sector, to get a certain coin. We've gone over that before when I keep telling you that a lot of these coins are actual garbage. And then it takes about 2 years for the community to be like, oh my gosh, yeah, that coin was actually completely terrible. But then you talk about the actual like decade-long thing that we've been going through with the US SEC just on the topic of an ETF. And it kind of, this isn't me like, explaining why these people shouldn't get in trouble or why they weren't wrong or why they aren't whatever wrong for doing this, but it's more of this is what happens. If we already had regulators who properly regulated, there would be no need for someone to like try and do something like this, to try and get the price to move in the market and all these other things. So of course, XRP's price jumped immediately. Different websites say it jumped by 12%, 15%. I saw some say 18%. I guess it depends on which price metrics they were actually looking at. And then it subsequently fell back right exactly to where it was. I mean, literally exactly to where it was, which I also think is a very interesting movement in prices, that you would go exactly where you were before just an hour after. But yeah, someone found a way to actually list a fake XRP ETF under the name of Blackrock for iShares once again. And then BlackRock was contacted and they were like, no, that was definitely not us. But it made it onto that website, which also opens up a tremendous amount of questions as to how this could have actually taken place, especially with something as like and I dare say regulated as a website like that, which is showing the actual filings of names for ETFs. Yeah, very, 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 very weird news. That's the XRP ETF news, question mark. I think there will eventually be one. We're getting a lot of news about not futures, but in the future, Ethereum ETFs as well. And they will eventually happen. But I don't know if you guys saw a couple of, maybe like 7 or 8 days ago, Changpeng Cao was on Twitter and he was also lightly perplexed. He was like, I don't understand why Bitcoin ETFs are so popular within the United States. And he was like, they're not popular anywhere else. He was saying like, nowhere else on the planet do people actually care about spot ETFs. The idea of an ETF is just like another instrument for institutions to be able to buy Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, but we can already do that ourselves. There's nothing stopping, essentially, there's nothing stopping BlackRock or any other entity from buying XRP on the open market or buying Ethereum from Coinbase or buying Bitcoin from Kraken. The idea is that, and this is usually the delusional part, is the news that comes from the actual institution. So BlackRock, of course, says, well, yeah, you need a Bitcoin ETF because it's a very safe way for institutions to be able to get into the space. The issue is that it's from BlackRock, and BlackRock only cares about profit. So BlackRock wants the ETF not to actually help other institutions get into the space, is because they're going to actually receive commission from the fees of these people paying $25 million to buy shares in their Bitcoin ETF. It's just about money. Always. So, yeah. Everywhere else around the world, no one really cares. And that's the really weird part, that when a rumor happens, this rumor and also the other Bitcoin rumor, we see prices begin to pump. And it's like, it's just an ETF. It is just a security. It is literally just a registered security of a fund that goes onto the stock exchange. Everyone else who wants actual exposure to Bitcoin can already have it and has been able to have it for the last 14 years. So that's the once again another rumor news, which was torn down nearly immediately. Yeah. Let's move on. Also in, I guess I would say, logical news, this was kind of like a whoa kind of moment. The Bitcoin mining community has recorded an annual all-time high after raking in over $44 million in just block rewards and transaction fees. So while I hope at this point all know, Bitcoin transactions are validated and confirmed by the people who are mining Bitcoin. All those calculations that they're solving, they're also receiving Bitcoin as a, what do you call it? As like a, yay, here you go. Thank you for solving these transactions and validating things, but also because they're protecting the network and like making sure that these transactions are actually taking place. So when you send something and it has a transaction fee, that transaction fee goes to them. So we've seen before, many years ago, there's always typically like a brand new all-time high for transaction fees, but this one kind of takes the cake. The reason why transaction fees, or they raked in $44 million in just block rewards and transaction fees, was actually because of Bitcoin NFTs. We also had similar news to this at the beginning of the year. The amount of Bitcoin ordinal NFTs that are flowing through the network are also lightly backing up the network. And I think a lot more people who are dealing with the Lightning Network, and I say this nicely, kind of need to get the let out, simply because if this continues, we are going to have a nearly unusable Bitcoin blockchain in about a good year or so time. The highest I ever remember Bitcoin transaction fees was around $28 per transaction. This was years and years ago. But if we end up getting to a $50, $60, $70 transaction fee because we have millions of Bitcoin Satoshi NFTs flowing through the network, that's going to cause a major, major, major problem. But yeah, they made $44 million just from transaction fees. It says the revenue from Bitcoin mining primarily comes from rewards for confirming Bitcoin transactions and creating new blocks using high-tech computer equipment known as mining rigs. Okay, sure. People who mine currently receive 6.25 BTC for every successful block creation in addition to the transaction fees. I don't know if you guys saw, there was an article I posted on Twitter, and it was the weirdest thing in the entire world. I think it was also Glassnode. They released a report that said when the halving happens, the mining reward is going to get cut in half. That was the article. It literally said, like, when the halving takes place, the amount of money that the people who are mining Bitcoin are going to make is going to get cut in half. That was their research. I found it funny because that's what the word half means. If I tell you I'm going to give you half of my apple, I'm not giving you like a quarter of it. It gets cut completely in half. Anyway, yeah, so there's also, I mean, we had news recently as well about the extra transactions on the Ethereum network and how they have, what do you call it? Ethereum's now once again deflationary. The coins are being burned once again heavily in the background because of the amount of transactions that are taking place. And then on the opposite end, you have the people who are also mining Bitcoin because of the extra transactions. They're making millions of dollars just from confirming the transactions on the network. So that's also interesting. That's the Bitcoin mining fees, or rather transactional fees, continue to go up. And these are the people who are making money from it news. And yeah, let's move on. Also you know what? Sure, why not? Go for it. The mysterious leader of Shiba Inu's development team, known as Satoshi Kusama, has apparently shared that the Shiba Inu team has made some new friends and are actively discussing the integration of Shibarium with centralized exchanges, and they hope that this happens in the future. Here we are once again, another day of perplexity where Shiba Inu has made it once again into the news and Terra Luna has not. I assume Terra Luna is just gone. Has anyone heard it? There's been no Terra Luna news for quite a long amount of time. Shiba Inu has successfully 3 times per week continuously made it back into the news. What was the last thing we heard about them? It was something about a coin burn, but they were also, I don't remember. I think they were teasing something about a layer 2 hot dog. I don't remember exactly what's been going on, but now we hear that they're also trying to integrate with centralized exchanges. In what way? Who knows? Because he did not provide any further details of those discussions, just answering a question from a SHIB user on Shibarium Tech, the official Shibarium channel on Telegram, where users can communicate with Satoshi Kusama. The interesting part is that Shiba Inu has made it back into the news, but it's like I said before, it's very, very like Tron-esque and like Cardano-esque, in that they keep announcing that there are updates and there are upgrades and things will happen, but nothing, there's no dates, there's no time frames, there's no like, hey, we did this. It's like we are planning on doing this. As kind of their, this isn't a tweet. Here's the telegram for it right here. In a recent post on Twitter, Satoshi extended support to decentralized exchange MarsSwap, or is it MarsWap? Recently launched on the Layer 2 blockchain. It did launch. Okay, perfect, wonderful. Yeah, I remember I was just saying, I was like, did this thing launch yet? Because we didn't have any, we had no Shiba Inu news for like 3 months. And then they started popping back up once again once the burn rate began to skyrocket. He first gave the founder praise in a message on Telegram saying that he knows this person, has known this person for a while, and pretty much trusts him. He said, I think Ian is doing a great job. I've known him for a while. Still, do your own research, of course, but I trust him more than most. Cool. So apparently Shiba Inu has a new decentralized exchange, and something else fantastically wonderful in the future is also going to launch. It could be, now here's there's a lot of here's. Here's the benefit of the doubt part for me. A lot of times there have been many cryptocurrency projects who announced that they're going to be doing something fantastic, awesome, amazing, and wonderful. But they usually wait until the launch of the bull run to actually release these things. So I will say, similar to many other projects, a lot of times we get news that something is going to happen in the future. And then once we actually get to the future, this is where I usually go and talk back about it again. So historically, it's usually the month before and of the halving that we begin to get an avalanche of news from these companies as to new things that they have coming out. So March or April is kind of the time frame, I think, for Shiba Inu and many other projects to actually announce that they're doing something or that things are going to be launching, because you can't keep saying in the future forever, because at some point people get to the future and they go, hey, that coin didn't really do a lot. But cool. I know it's a very popular project. I keep getting, you know, how you hover over something for too long on Twitter and it begins to pop up. I'm seeing a lot of Shiba Inu stuff all over again. So good luck to them, and I hope they end up getting to that 1 cent that they're trying to get to. That's the Shiba Inu. They're planning on integrating with centralized exchanges. I don't know how or what they would do, but good luck to them. Let's move on. In just weird news, I mean, this is a Russian court has fined Coinbase $11,000 last week for refusing to localize the data of Russians within the country. This is according to Russian media outlet Vedomosti. So if you've ever heard news about like being fined before by like a government to a company, you may have heard like Belgium fined Google, and it's like the number ends up being like $300 million, or Facebook was fined today by the Canadian court for $180 million. You know, even then in those situations, a lot of people tend to like scrutinize it because they say, yes, this company may have done something wrong, but the company also made $34 billion last year. So you fining them $100 million, $300 million isn't actually equivalent to the pain, suffering, loss, what have you, of the person or people actually involved in that situation. So upon hearing the news that apparently, and Coinbase was not the only one, Coinbase and many other companies were fined for doing something. They were fined $11,000. That's it. Like that was the extent of the fine. So this is incredibly weird. I think this ended up making it into the cryptocurrency space because Coinbase is crypto. We're in crypto, and therefore that's where the news kind of ends up meeting. But $11,000 isn't even a smack on the wrist. That's like, you know how much money these companies make per second? If you ever have a chance, type in how much money does Jeff Bezos make per minute. Some of you might actually like get sick to your stomach because the number is absolutely egregious. Like, I don't know. It's all very like this isn't even really okay. The decision comes as Russia has issued multiple fines to international technology companies in recent years over various violations in what critics describe as Moscow's attempt to exert greater control over the internet. Yeah, maybe. For those of you who don't know, Russia has their own internet. Yeah, it's as dystopian as you might actually think. There are a number of countries that have their own form of the internet that is heavily controlled by the government. This has nothing to do with exerting controls. I think things like this are meant to show the public that the government has taken a hard stance against something, but it's $11,000. You know how many people make $11,000 like in a month? Now, I know it's not everyone, but understand that's like a, you know, and those are normal people. That's not like, cool. Okay. The ruling took place at the District Court of Moscow, which found Coinbase guilty of violating a law requiring companies. Why would you not charge them like millions of dollars to make sure that they actually fall in line? You could charge Coinbase $11,000 every single week, and it would, like, Coinbase probably makes that in like half an hour. And that's being generous. Like, that's being like, I assume Coinbase makes this in every 10 minutes or so. So they could just continue not following the law basically forever and handing over like pennies to the actual government. So apparently it was Google, Apple, Spotify, WhatsApp, Airbnb, and Coinbase all violated the laws. The really weird part to me is that, and this is very similar to the other stuff happening with the US SEC, I find it very, very hard to believe that Google, Apple, Spotify, WhatsApp, Airbnb, Coinbase, etc. would have all actively refused to not follow the law. Wouldn't that seem a little bit weird that all these mega companies just all happen to not? So this is clearly a way for the government to try and get money from these corporations and saying that they did something wrong. But it's $11,000. This might have been one of the weirdest news stories that we've actually had in a while, because $11,000 is nothing to multi-billion-dollar companies. Like, that's not even a, once again, if your company made $35 billion last year and you get fined $300 million, it's nothing. It's literally like the equivalent of you getting something that says you have to pay like $400 this month relative to how much money you actually made that month from your paycheck. Very weird news. This was also relatively all over the place, kind of in some way, cryptocurrency news. We've been hearing a lot from like Russia recently in the crypto space, because I think Binance was just fined, or they can't do business there, or I don't remember, but it's abundantly clear that the government probably doesn't want them there, because they're probably going to try and create their own cryptocurrency exchange themselves. But $11,000, like, that number is completely insane. That does nothing. All right, that's the Coinbase got in trouble news. All right, it's just getting weird now. Let's move on. Rightio. I do sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day. Morning, afternoon, evening. Before I forget, people were asking me before, I think it was 2 or 3 people, what the name of this website was. It is TX Street. So, Tyrannosaurus Xena Street. TX Street. I don't own it. It's not mine. It's a weird visualizer to be able to see all the transactions that are currently happening on the blockchain, like in the form of like South Park characters. It's very, very odd. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.